Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business that lasted over 25 years? Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission, how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family and their passion and their careers and how it helped them. Our podcast vision, growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. Fun.
Let's do it.
Yeah, Jeff Bishop. Great to see you.
You too. Thank you very much for having me there.
Yeah. Why is this such a great event?
Man, I love all the IT Nation events. It's just such a variety of people. You got owners, you got private equity groups, you've got brand new technicians coming just out of college or out of trade schools coming in. So you got people with like 2 months of experience and 30 years of experience, right? And they're running the gambit here. And then you put them all at a breakfast table and you see how it all plays out. It's a lot of fun. I do like Secure though, because it's a bit techy. A lot of the geeks are in here. We're having some of those tough conversations, like some of the guys walking around here behind us. But I love Connect because it's such a big event. You've got so much diversity. And as much as I love the PSA but you want to have a deep dive into agreements and additions and invoicing. I'd rather go into the RMM, the remote control, the RPAs, and the AI. I lean towards the automation geek side of the house a little bit. So
why is that so attractive to you?
That side, I don't know. I think solving those like tough technology problems, and just seeing how technology can just continue to change stuff. Right? We've all seen it. Everybody thought the IT people were the people that sat in the back room, fixed my computers and the routers and the firewalls,
right.
and that was it.
That changed.
And now it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like you cannot exist in any business. Think retail. Think what happened during COVID. Remember walking into some of the restaurants and you see like the 2D barcode and you were actually ordering the food. You didn't even have to talk to anybody, and it was coming to the table and you're paying everything. This was all contactless. Like, look at how quickly that pivoted.
Right.
Do you think that a restaurateur was sitting around going, okay, here's how I'm going to solve this technical problem? No, it was an MSP. It was the IT teams that sat down and kind of figured that out.
Yeah.
And how they're going to start to implement AI and automation into connecting marketing tools and sales tools and back-end service delivery. And the generative AI is just going to continue to change all this. And I love to see what IT is going to look like. When we were all getting involved in some of this, it was the firewalls, it was running cables, setting up routers and switches, and you had the rack, right? And it was who could make the wires prettier and cleaner.
Right. Yes.
And now it's AI, and it's setting up Amazon environments and virtual machines, and not only teaching small businesses, about cybersecurity, but also how technology can help them improve their business and be more efficient. Man, that's going to be an exciting shift and pivot into the next new world.
Is AI and security, does that frighten you, or what does it do? What's your feeling about it?
Oh man.
I shouldn't say frightened. Does it give you pause?
I think we're all kind of hanging out and watching, right? There's some really smart people online saying, man, if we don't get some regulatory control over AI, it's going to run the world in some years. And we've been running movies about it for 30 years or thereabouts. So I think what I like about it is it levels the playing field a bit. So I'm sure the bad guys are going to take advantage of it to do things. We're already seeing it.
Yes.
But it also allows the good guys to apply that technology in ways that we couldn't have done before, right? You know, to be able to go through the alerts and to correlate data across the half a dozen different security products that you have, and to take real-time actions and remove a lot of those false positives and really focus on the real problems. Look, it's with every technology, there's always going to be the pros and cons, and people trying to misuse it, and then the people trying to use it the right way. But I'm a bit more confident. I think that the good guys are going to be able to look at this and do some pretty neat things with it and help protect the businesses. So let's be. I'm going to focus on the optimistic side of the house.
You're
on
more
it.
optimistic. What keeps you up at night about security?
Well, our own security for
Yeah.
sure. You know, restless hours would be like wondering about what mistakes we might have made, you know, checking in code or getting something out the door, or that somebody's going to call me up with a 0 day that I've never heard about. So yeah, those are restless nights. You know, my background was coming from Screen Connect back in the day. I just always remember, man, at any moment in time, something like that hit us. You know, we were a 5 or 6 person shop, right? We had a lot of customers, but you know, we were tiny. Like we couldn't have survived something like that. And so those are what really keep me up. And here, also it keeps me up as part of the IT Nation. But I do think that it's going to change the way we approach every problem. I talk to all my my software development team and my UX team, everything all the time. I'm like, this is how we used to build software. This is how we used to check code in. This is how we ran cloud and DevOps. This is how we design software. It's a paradigm shift, right? It's not the same thing that we used to always do. Like you always have to go do these research, and you got to do interviews, and you got to do testing, and you got to watch where the mouse goes on the screen, and like you got to put all this time and effort into the designs. And it's like, no, like I mean, truly, we can allow AI to start watching how people are doing things and start to have adaptive technologies. Some of the UX paradigms we're putting in place with the new ASIO pod design is meant to be adaptive.
Really?
If everybody is always interfacing with these pods, those pods will just show up at the top of the page. People start creating new pods, we can start to push those out into the entire community. Not us doing it. The AI can start to suggest those suggestions. So it'll change the nature of things for sure.
I remember when it was Elon Musk who said that the AI that he built for the self-driving for his car, it taught itself how to read.
I'm sure it did.
And so they were scared because they never taught it. And so, I mean, it's interesting. You just talk about that. These pods, just things will just naturally happen. All part of what it's been.
They will.
To do.
They'll start suggesting ideas. They'll start making insights into the data.
Amazing.
You know, recommending dashboard changes and visualizations and actions that should be taken. Yeah, it will adapt, and it's up to all of us to kind of keep an eye on it and make sure that we've got the right controls, particularly around privacy of data, that things don't get out of hand or doing things that they shouldn't be doing. But
what's your challenge for MSPs this week here at Secure?
The challenge?
Yeah, do you challenge MSPs? Like, what do you want from them? What should they walk away with?
Great question. The biggest thing I think any MSP coming to an event like this, the challenge would be to take a little bit of time, step back from the demos and the running around to the different sessions and have a conversation. Find 4 or 5 people at breakfast and throw out that one problem that you're having that you're just not quite sure how you want to handle it. And so many people here have had those same problems. They'll gain some amazing insights from it on how they can take back to improve their business. So, forest for the trees kind of thing. You're here with 1,000+ people, but will they sit down and have that meaningful conversation about a problem they're having? Or, hey, are you guys trying this? Or is this where you're going to go with your business? How are you finding new customers? How do we bring more SMBs into the space? I think a lot of the critiques or maybe the criticism even of this industry and from a software perspective is like, How do you feel about this vendor or that vendor, and are you competing with them or that? And at the end of the day, what we all should be focused on is helping MSPs find more SMBs to bring into the space. Let's raise all all ships up with the tide, right? So there's billions of people around the world. There's millions and millions and millions of businesses. How do we get them all tapping into the MSP community? Right? There's more than enough to go around. Let's raise the bar, and let's help MSPs find more customers and help them be successful with onboarding those and growing their security. There's one of the speeches I give from time to time with especially our new joiners in the engineering team. And I was like, what do you think you're doing? Like, well, we'll build software. It's like, great. For who? For MSPs. I'm like, yeah, okay. But what are the MSPs doing with that? And they're like, oh, well, they help the companies implement IT. I was like, now think about what that really means. That means that there's some small restaurateur or retail, or maybe it's a small legal firm, an architectural firm that lives in a small community. Now, do they know how to set up and be secure? Do they know how to get their machines up and keep them patched? Do they know how to interconnect their some of their back-end solutions with maybe their CRM, with their service ticketing tool? Do they know how to do all that? Do they know how to bring hyper automation and RPA and AI into their business? Probably not. So the more successful those MSPs can make that SMB,
interesting.
Now they're going to grow. They're going to hire more people in their community. So now we're actually helping these communities grow, right? You're helping that small business, so that person or persons has a family that they're probably dependent upon, them to bring home the food and make sure that everything's getting paid for. And then they hire more people, and then that families it's all a people thing at the end of the day.
Sure
we focus sometimes on the ones and zeros, and at the end of the day, this is still all about people.
How can vendors be successful at an event like this? Yeah. What's your advice to vendors working with these MSPs?
Man, I've run the gambit, right? I think from very, very small to being here with ConnectWise, it's a pretty large player. Make sure you're talking to the customers. One of the methodologies that we like to use, and I think we do a good job, still not great, there's always room to improve, right? But is Marty Kagan. So if you're a software company here and you haven't read some of his books or listened to some of his podcasts or whatever, his talks, Marty talks about that this stuff shouldn't be siloed. You shouldn't have a product manager talk to the customers and then goes and tells the engineers what to do, and then they hand it over to the UX team and say, hey, read this and draw it and make it look pretty. It should truly be that the engineer, the UX, the product manager are out talking to the partners and truly understanding the problem. From my days working with Screen Connect, having the engineering team talking to partners and understanding the problem, I think people like Jake Morgan and Mayfield and Scott Lennox and others, man, I was like, oh, this is what the customer's problem is, and they would come back and be like, no, it's not. You stopped here. I asked a few other technical questions, and this is what I heard. I'm like, oh, okay. So then we start comparing notes, and then we go back and talk to the partner, and there was some hybrid. I would have probably ran us off down the wrong path potentially, and we'd have spent weeks or months developing something that we didn't need or didn't meet the need. But by bringing in different skill sets, an engineer, a UX, and a PM to talk to partners, you can really, truly see that problem. And I think that's an empowering thing especially for the software vendors that are here. Is if the engineers and the UX aren't talking to the partner, you're probably missing out.
Jason McGee's gonna give his keynote tonight. You probably know a lot of insight on it. I mean, if I were to guess, I would say it's gonna be some AI discussion, and should be pretty good.
I joked around at the IT Nation Connect. So you can just walk out and say AI and turn around and walk back off the stage, right? Like a half a dozen other keynotes that I saw last year. We've been rolling out Sidekick and across a lot of the product lines, particularly around the BMS. We saw a lot of play and a lot of capabilities around service delivery. But you'll see it starting to get tied into the cybersecurity products. It's getting tied into our documentation. It's getting tied into reporting, into RMM. The team's got some pretty cool stuff they're doing there. So you're going to see AI for sure. You're going to see us looking around at a bit of tool sprawl a little bit. We're starting to see all these tools, all of them overlapping, maybe 10 or 15, 20% with each other. So we're going to start to try to help centralize and bring a lot of that information together. Obviously, we have ASIO. That's sort of the intent of a platform as a service, is that everything should come together and not be disparate. That you bring everything into a common data layer so that the AI machine learning models can be built off of the common data, not isolated to each individual data source. So yeah, that's the direction we're going on things.
You love this, Jeff.
I do love this. Are you kidding?
Oh, you love it.
Yeah. I always talk about building software is sort of like building a house, right? You sit back and you figure out what you want to do, then you build the foundation, then you start building out the frame, and then you start putting in all the bells and whistles in there, and you step back and you hope everybody loves what you've done. But the cool thing about this is we just keep getting to modify and tweak and keep going, and it's an art form. When I was hiring engineers more back in, a little bit younger, everybody would come in with, I got these certificates and I got this degree and from these different schools. And the one thing I always would ask is like, okay, great. Talk to me about the side projects you do. Where did you implement what did you code up on the side that wasn't part of a class that you did? Almost every great engineer that I've ever worked with, they utilize their skill sets to augment their own lives. Yeah. It's like an artist. Yeah. I've never met a painter that just did the coursework at school. Right. They were still constantly painting and drawing and doing different mediums at their house or wherever else. Those are great engineers. And that's what you look for. At least that's what I looked for.
That's a great idea. What side projects? Yeah. You can see if they have a real passion for it.
Yeah. I just watched one of the engineers I know walk by a second ago, and he went through his entire interview with us. And at the end, I was like, okay, smart young man, didn't really stand out. And at the end, I was like, have you ever done anything? And he's like, oh yeah, I built this app. I'm putting my notebook, but I was like, what app? And he's like, oh, it was like a flashlight, and they could do Morse code across the room. And I was like, really? I was like, that's kind of cool. And I was like, customers, users, oh yeah, no, it didn't have many customers. It was like 15, all in one spot. I was like, look on your face. I'm like, what? Like, who were these people? And then he comes to find out it was a retirement center in Germany with a bunch of vets who would sit across the room from each other and flash the Morse code to see if they could remember it all. And I just loved it. I hired him, offered him a job right on the spot. And he's been with us ever since. He's just, fantastic.
Sometimes developers, you got to open them up a little bit.
Yeah.
It's so used to dealing with technology.
They don't often talk about some of their side projects and some of the fun things that they do with it. So it's good.
It's a really good idea, because I know I did lots of side projects when I was first learning to code. I'm sure you did as well. Maybe not all of them completely legal, but still, they were fun.
I was a horrible developer. Fortran and C# and all that back in the day. And when I got into it with Screen Connect, Jake would always try to get me to write SQL queries and do all this. I was like, dude, I'm gonna sit over here and work on the marketing and the website and product management. Leave all that to the really smart guys.
Yeah, SQL queries. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's been a while. Jeff Bishop, man, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'll see you this week. Have a great event.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate you coming out, hanging out with us. All right, thanks.
Thank you for listening and/or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypinz.com. There you'll find lots of resources, and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.